Mustang fans, and welcome to the Mustang Owners Podcast. I'm John Clore, Enthusiast Communications Manager for Ford Performance, along with my co-host Mike Ray, who is the president of the Mustang Owners Club of Southeastern Michigan and the International Council of Mustang Clubs. You know, we've long said that everybody's got a Mustang story, so that's why we work so hard to get you the insider stories behind all the cool cars, the clubs, the collectors, the celebrities, yes, and even the characters that are in this Mustang and Ford world. All that we ask in return is to please make sure that you're subscribed to the Mustang Owners Podcast, both on Spotify and now on YouTube, so that you can be notified every time a new episode is uploaded. And Mike, when we talk about fun, cool car stuff going on in the Motor City, there's only one place to really be other than Mustang Memories and the Woodward Dream Cruise. It's got to be the Detroit Auto Show.
Yeah, and I really like what they did this year, incorporating some of the older vehicles instead of just having the new flashy glitz and glamour of the new stuff that's out. They really incorporated with the old stuff that really hits the enthusiast heart.
Well, and folks, I'm sure no matter what city, if you're around a big city, you have a big annual auto show. We usually put it on by the dealers. The OEMs come and they put their cars out there. And every once in a while, some cities are able to bring some clubs in and maybe have some classic cars. But in Detroit, for over 100 years, it's always been the OEMs take over. You've heard of the North American International Auto Show in Detroit. This was the world stage, and there was only OEMs. That's it. And suppliers every once in a while. So a couple of years ago, they decided, hey, that's old school, coming in, kicking tires, sitting in cars, and Mike, all your friends stealing all the door handles and shifter knobs and the cigarette lighters. That shows you how long this goes back. Cigarette lighters.
Yeah.
Who has those? Anyway,
yeah.
Well, what happened was a few years ago, Detroit said, well, let's forget in the middle of winter. Let's go outside in the summer and let's bring the Detroit Auto Show and be outside and drive with the people. Well, guess what? Everybody figured out there's stuff to do in the summer. Mike's right. Mike, it's your fault. It's your fault because clubs were out doing stuff. People were on vacation. They're at the beach, and the auto show attendance just sank. And it wasn't the be all and end all that people really wanted. Yeah, it's cold in the middle of January in Detroit, but there's nothing else to do. So this year, the auto show went back indoors. It got a lot of the OEMs back who had bailed out earlier. And Mike, they did something special. They brought in more of a grassroots flair. They brought in new attractions that usually aren't at shows like this. They're usually at Autoramas or World of Wheels, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, Mike, what happened downstairs at the Detroit Auto Show with Modern Detroit made this something different. So what we want to do today is we want to take you through a few pictures we've taken at the Detroit Auto Show and really guide you on what you missed by not being there. So, Mike, let's take them on a little trip.
Yep, let's do it.
Okay. Well, luckily we had top-notch delivery at the front door of Huntington Place, which for those old-timers would remember the downtown Detroit Convention Center as being Cobo Hall.
Yeah.
But Mike, we got out in that middle of January. It wasn't snowing, and it really wasn't that cold.
Nope, and we had a great little Uber service to drop us off right at the front door.
Yeah, Jenny Clore.
Right in, and this is the first car we've seen
there. We walk in the lobby, and of course, we realized immediately, Mike, when we saw this car in the lobby, we said, hey, we're in the right place.
Yeah, it was nice to be. That was the first car we've seen.
So they did fill the lobby with a lot of cool cars, and there was a reason why I think, Mike, the classics were part of the auto show this year. It wasn't just all the latest models from the manufacturers. Having cars like this outside really kind of tied everybody together with new cars being put together and sold today in today's market, and the reason why we celebrate the cars in the Motor City. This was great seeing it. This was a great little car too.
Yeah, and it just shows the heritage. I mean, from then till now.
All right, so what I'm doing, folks, I'm saving you from taking a look at the next thing that Mike stopped in front of the lobby, which is a big giant poster of Christy
Lee.
Christy Lee was out there. So, but anyway, so we
soon to be coming guest.
Yeah, that's right. So, we'll get her on the podcast, won't we, Mike? Anyway, so we walk inside. Of course, there's only one car I wanted to see, and for you Mustang people, I know what you're going to say. The one car you wanted to see, John, was the GTD. No, the one car I wanted to see, Mike, when I heard they had movie cars here.
Yes.
What did we do? We made a beeline right for one of my favorite cars, and that is, Chevy Chase and National Lampoon's Family Vacation movie had the the family truckster.
Yes.
And Mike, when I saw this, even
Complete with Aunt Edna.
they even had Edna. They had the right colored luggage. Now they did say, if people want a real sharp eye, that this was the Ford Crown Victoria wagon, and of course there's no such thing. So for those of you who put up the signs down there, why don't you call us at the Mustang Owners Podcast if you're not a Ford person? This is a Ford Country Squire wagon that was made into the Wagon Queen family truckster. So I'd like to see this. And then you hung out and you saw a bunch of other cool cars. Was it who's the guy? Ferris Bueller, who wore the Gordie Howe jersey? And
Ferris Bueller's Ferrari was there. Yeah. With Magnum PI's
his
Ferrari.
Yeah. So it's kind of cool when people see cars that, I mean, I like seeing movie cars. And I thought, what a change from a typical auto show when you see a car like this. But that's not to say that there weren't, the new models weren't there. There was a bunch of other stuff. So what attracted us? Yeah. Do we want to go to the Ford stand and check out the Mustangs? Yeah. But we also wanted to check out a few other things that were there.
Yeah.
So when I walked away from the family truckster and we're heading over to the Ford stand, all of a sudden we saw one of the big consignment companies. Wasn't it right out of the
Vanguard?
Yeah. So Vanguard shows up and they took some of their absolutely spectacular Motor City muscle. Really super classics. And Mike, when we saw this baby sitting out there gleaming black, I said, wow, this really brings the new cars to light and why we have fondness for Mustangs when we see something like this. And I know this car was probably consigned to them, but just to see a 67, and especially a black fastback, I mean, how cool
Shelby's beautiful. Yeah.
And I don't know if a lot of you guys have auto shows that have like their consignment stores or clubs bring their cars in, but this was a great idea, Mike.
Yeah, it's absolutely gorgeous car. That car was beyond stunning right there.
Well, none of them were cheap, and I know that, being the cheapskate that I am, I wasn't going to take you there, but we had to keep walking. So we said, we looked, we nodded, and we said, and all of a sudden, of course, if you're a Mustang person and you're going to the auto show, what you wanted to see was the number one Mustang that we sell to the general public, and that, of course, is the new Dark Horse. Now, Mike, you and I were really cool to our other Mustang friends at Ford and said, okay, you guys go ahead and go to the Ford reveal the night before at the Ford stand where they showed this new Dark Horse, and they also showed the GTD. But Mike, they showed something that a truck that you might happen to like, and they also had a personality there that didn't quite end up his year the way we planned. Yeah,
Mr. Jared Goff was there throwing footballs around, but came in the Lions Ford truck to give a little speech to the crowd.
Now, didn't he? So the night before we got the world got to see this Dark Horse, Jared did come in, and don't you have some of those Detroit Lion trucks left if people want one?
We are all sold out. So
no, they made 800?
20 dealers got 40 of them each, and my current dealership, we sold them all. They're all gone.
Well, the rumor was that Vaughn Gittin Jr. was there with his RTR, Jared Goff from the Lions. The rumor was he was actually throwing commemorative footballs out into the media, and somebody dropped the pass.
Yes, I heard that. And it wouldn't have been me if I was out there.
So, folks, here's the great news about the Detroit Auto Show. Had Mike been there the night before, there would have been people injured as he jumped to recover the fumble. So, Mike, the other gigantic. Well, let's talk a little bit about the Dark Horse before we move on. So, the Dark Horse is out. It is really our number one car with a Shelby out of the lineup. This is the car to have for 2025. And Mike, I'm sure people are still talking and chomping at the bit. If they want something really spectacular, this is the year to buy a Dark Horse.
Yep, absolutely it is. And we've already sold a couple this year, and we just got our first 25 in the other day.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I had a couple 24s left. So I have 124 left, and I have 125. So if you need one, give me a holler.
So they take all of the technology that we can possibly pack into a higher performance, upper level car, kind of like where the Mach 1s were, and they really weren't there to replace the Shelby, but it was Ford's version of, the top Mustang you can get at the factory. And with the new wheels, the handling, the color palette, I mean, these cars are all that, and they're really the top dog. And for the average Joe, this is the car I think you aspire to. I mean, if you're not going aftermarket, you're going for a Dark Horse. And of course,
it's the icon in the lineup at the current time.
Yeah. So, but then of course, everybody else says, well, there's that other Mustang. And so, Mike, for those of you out there who have $400,000 and got onto the list, could you send a note to John or Mike at clubhub@ford.com, and we want to borrow like 400 or 500,000, and we'll give it back after we buy the car. And we even, after we're done with this car, we might even give it to you after if there's anything left of it.
But John, I have to mention here on the GTD, please go back to our former episode with Camilo Pardo that we talked about the GTD. We're offering a very special, unique experience exclusive to my dealership with Camilo and the GTD. So give us a listen and shoot me a note and make something special, and you might have a one-of-one GTD for your garage.
Now, this Spirit of America version that they showed the night before, this is also a one-off, Mike.
Yeah.
And it's very patriotic, red, white, and blue. But these cars, you don't see them. I can't tell you how many clubs have contacted us. Hey, can we get a GTD at our car show? And you have 35 people over at Denny's, and you think you're getting no. There's just a couple, and we'll show you a little bit later in our little coverage of the Detroit Auto Show why that is. But this car, Mike, it's got such a spectacular footprint that it's unobtainium. But then we wanted to show what is obtainium, what is different, but what can you actually get? And that's where I think the real news came out of the Detroit Auto Show, was that your friend Vaughn Gittin Jr. showed the night before. Now, he wasn't there on media day when you and I went to the auto show, but he showed his new Mustang RTR in a camo kind of the new zebra camo look. And Mike, this is their EcoBoost version.
Yes, it's the hit of the show, the big reveal by Ford at this event, and what a contribution Vaughn has made to the Ford team and the hobby by doing this. And these cars are actually going to be rolling off of Flat Rock to do that. So it's not going to be anything that's, done after the fact or whatever like that. These are actually going to be production cars that Vaughn has worked so hard over his career to work with Ford to actually make this dream come true.
Now, where would you see that this slots in? So you let's say you go to the dealership and the GT is a little bit out of your reach. Of course, the GTD is out of most everybody's reach, and maybe the dark horse is too much. Is this for that guy who wants something really different and above the factory car, but to have this special ready to rock version of a Mustang EcoBoost? I mean, what customer do you see for this?
Yeah, I see the person who wants to be able to afford one to drive it. And, the best bang for the buck, if you will, for that. It's going to have great horsepower. It's going to have amazing styling by Vaughn. And, it's going to be affordable.
Well, folks, there was some rumbling going on that the camo look. So that's why you need to go on YouTube and check out our visit to RTR and see the Mistachrome RTR Mustang. But this one, I mean, there was a love it or hate it look. But I tell you what, if you drive this anywhere, any city, USA, you're going to get noticed.
Yeah.
It's almost better than Arrest Me Red.
Yes.
All right. So unfortunately, we didn't get to meet Devon, but we did meet a lot of people here at the show that people who are not inside Ford may not know who these guys are. So if you go to Media Day, you see some of these YouTubers and media types talking to people. Mike, we turned around and we looked and said, wait a minute, who's over there? Well, there's a couple people we know. So in the center of this picture is one of your friends.
Yeah, Joe Bellino's there. Mustang brand marketing manager, has also been a former podcast guest, and just speaking to the media, doing his news interviews and talking everything Mustang 2025. And most of it was the reveal of the RTR and the GTD.
Well, Joe is truly, as a Mustang brand manager, he's accessible. He's just dialed in, and it's really great to see him coming to Media Day and talking to people about his new Mustang lineup. And to the far right of that picture, now that is Dante Jenkins. He used to be the Ford Performance Enthusiast Marketing, but now Mike, did he say he got moved over to Bronco Sport?
Correct. He's heading up Bronco Sport now, and I think Natalie Simon is the one who replaced him in his spot. So, a lot of good team members there. So, yeah. Isn't that
cool? So we're walking around and we see the team members. Now, go back to behind the blonde there. That's Syed Deep.
Yes.
I've known Syed Deep since my Detroit News days.
Yeah.
And as a higher up in the Ford Communications team, Syed was there to measure the feedback. And he's the media guy you want to talk to. But
I've known him for about 12 years. Yeah.
But Mike, he was really interested and what can Ford do with us and the Mustang Owners Podcast. So it was great to talk to Syed as well. And we saw a bunch of other Ford people there, but we just wanted to show you what's it like in Media Day that it's not like when you go when the kids are stealing the door handles, you know?
Right,
and that's
right.
the kind of people you'll see, just regular folks. These are Ford staffers among the media checking out the auto show. And that's what makes the going on Media Day so much fun.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, so that wasn't the end of it. Now, there's another.
That's great.
Mike? Why do we have this picture?
Because that's the man of all men with anything Mustang and Ford for the last 20 years. He's been, I don't know how many different titles he's had. Mustang brand manager. He's been head of the Ford GT program.
The Shelby brand
now
manager. Yep, he was
now
Shelby.
now he's the head of the GTD.
Yeah, so Mike and I, we talked to Jim Owens. If you want to check out, go back on our podcast list and go find the Jim Owens podcast. You'll get great stories from this fantastic Ford marketing superstar. One of the few guys that actually left the company and came back because he was just the right man. If the faster horse, any Jay Leno YouTube video, he's been everywhere. And when we talked to Jim, we talked about the GTD and the program, and then Jim sneaks away. And why is that, Mike? Because his phone rings.
Yeah, his phone's been blowing up as always. If anybody knows Jim, you know it's 24/7 on his phone. And that was a great little shot you captured of him just working away 24/7.
So he sneaks behind the old ice cream cart, and he's trying to sit down somewhere. Well, all there is this golf cart. So he's on the phone, and I go, "Look, Mike, look, there's Jim Owens selling another GTD to somebody."
There you go.
I said, "I got to take his picture." So we zoomed. Now he wasn't up. Of course, he was by Mike. He was by that GTD stand, and he talked a ton of media. So it's not like he's off. But
well, that picture is 10 feet from the GTD stand. In case anybody's wondering where that is.
So this is what the Ford people do at the auto show. I mean, they work the crowd, and if there's a break in the media action, there's Jim Owens doing what he's paid to do at Ford, to sell the Mustang GTD to some lucky son of a bitch. No, anyway, so sorry, Jim, if you're seeing that. Anyway, so Mike, there are other movies that that stand out in my mind. Like one of the first movies I ever took my wife to be to was American Graffiti.
Yeah.
And there was a car in American Graffiti, and I'm not talking about the 55 Chevy that unfortunately.
Oh, my favorite. That's what made me fall in love with that car was that movie.
You and your
black 55 Chevy,
black 65 with that nasty Harrison Ford, yeah. But the one that was John Milner's car.
Yeah, you like the piss yellow Deuce Coupe.
The 32 5-window coupe talk about a classic hot rod, and to see the fact that they brought it to the auto show, because when you so all of you out there think of, okay, when you close your eyes and you say, all right, what is the quintessential hot rod? And if any of you say Prius, you have to know, please unsubscribe from the Mustang Owners Podcast. Do not come back, because you need to be taken out to the woodshed. No, it's not a Toyota. The classic hot rod of all time is a 32. And this 5-window, and Milner was so cool. He had the white T-shirt with the smokes put in. It was just that car. It talks to any Ford person. So we had to go by and take a look at that. And just so that you know, yes, I did check. The keys were not in it. Anyway, so we had enough nostalgia, and we said, let's keep going. There's a lot more to see here. So what we wanted to do is, there's a couple of attractions they talked about. And I said, well, Mike, it's more than just melding the new with the old.
Yeah.
They actually had a gallery of, I'd call it like race cars and exotics.
Yeah, I can say exotic high-end gallery, yeah.
So, they had to keep that off the main floor, but, and it's not to say that, the higher end people are a different crowd, but they are. And you do want to go see some really cool cars every once in a while. But Mike, there were also 4 driving tracks. So people who liked off-road, and the Bronco had this big mountain, and they were giving people rides. Going up the hill, down the hill, over climbing stuff. And that's kind of an interactive thing. They had a lot of simulators there. A lot of suppliers were there at the auto show doing stuff. So they had those attractions. But then again, the thing that really struck me was this tie between, classic American cars, the stuff that made us car kids in the first place, and then, getting your chance to go cross shop everything from all the big OEMs. And I really felt that vibe was different this year.
Yeah, I agree. I really liked that aspect of the show this year. It was something different, and actually, I think a lot of more people might have looked at the older stuff than they did the newer stuff.
Well, it's we saw what die-cast cars for sale.
Yeah,
That never happened.
tons of them.
Yeah, that never happened before. And
merchandise.
Yeah, merchandise like that. That was always more of a grassroots thing. You'd see at a World of Wheels, or you'd see it, But it was there, and then downstairs this year, much like at the Autoramas where they had the Autorama Extreme.
Yeah,
they invited Mike a car club, which I'm not sure. It came out of the Novi area of the Motor City.
Yep.
But these kids, these two 20-somethings, put together essentially an online community, an Instagram style club where they got a lot of followers, and it's everything goes. So trucks, cars, imports, turbo race burners, any motorcycles, Terminators, F-150s, they didn't care. And this club called Modded Detroit actually took over. This never was part of the Detroit Auto Show.
Right.
So they took over the basement and brought their builds. And Mike, I think the lesson here was, unlike a lot of car shows, not just when you go to a big auto show and you don't want to be sold to when you're looking at 3 different, let's say 2-row crossovers. You just go to the different manufacturers. You want to sit in them and make your own decision. But at a car show, you generally like to see the person, the owner there, so you can ask them a question about their build. And that's what I think was really cool about Modded Detroit. The kids were downstairs. They were explaining everything they did. No matter what it was, whether it was a 10,000 horsepower car or some, resto rod, they didn't care. They were proud of their builds and wanted to explain it. And it was funny to see them all in one place and all kind of like, hey, there's no shame in what you're driving, and they just want to be fans of motorized mobility. I think that might be the future.
Yeah, and it was very well received. A couple of our members actually had their cars down there, and a lot of great feedback that I've seen. And they were also featured on the news, specifically just the basement shot with Modded Detroit.
So for those of you, when the big car show, the big Ford or the big auto show comes to your city and town, and you say, let's go to the auto show. And of course, you're going to go to the Ford stand. You're going to check out the Mustangs and the Broncos and all the good Ford stuff and the trucks and the F-150s. I get it. But you know what? I hope your auto show does something like this that makes it more grassroots, talks about and shows you the cars that made us fall in love with American cars in the first place, and the cars like the import guys that come down and that made these new Instagram clubs, these social media clubs, these groups of people that just love what they drive and they want to mod it and they want to make it their own. Mike, that's really the Mustang theme. That's like the Mustang story in a nutshell.
Yeah, that's exactly true.
So, folks, I hope you enjoyed this little walk through the Detroit Auto Show. And you can always send us your ideas and comments of what you'd like to have us go through. We have people all over the country. It shows almost everywhere. And you can send us your videos and send us your pictures to clubhub@ford.com. And maybe we'll do a little walkthrough and commentary on your car show. So, Mike, before we go, we have to talk a little bit about why we are having so much fun on the podcast. It's because of all our friends and fans, and some people want to know, hey, can I show off that I'm an insider, that I have Mustang Owners Podcast gear? And the answer is, Mike, we do.
Yes, we do. Look at that.
All right, so
it's fresh and in stock right now.
Yeah, so folks, if you want, you can show the world that you are an insider by checking out our new Mustang Owners Podcast gear on svtstore.com. And you can choose from hats, hoodies, shirts, and even a jacket to show people, hey, I'm an insider, I listen to the podcast, and if we see you anywhere this year wearing Mustang Owners Podcast gear, we're going to give you a special prize. So, Mike, that was a lot of fun. Let's do more of this. We'll take some, send us your photos, send us your ideas, and we'll be happy to walk through. Mike, thanks again for hanging out with me.
Yeah, this was fun.
All right, folks, well, that's a wrap for this edition of the Mustang Owners Podcast, but don't forget to check out FordPerformance.com this week for the enthusiast story that I posted there every Thursday. And if you haven't already done so, make sure your Mustang Club or Facebook group is registered on FordPerformanceClubConnect.com, and register your actual Mustang if you like on FordSpecialVehicleRegistry.com. You can also find out what Mike's Mega Club is doing by just checking out Moxum.com. And of course, we welcome your comments or suggestions that you send to us at clubhub@Ford.com. So until next time, we'll just have to catch you down the road.